I'm East Coast Pete. Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna do a show that I did last summer. It's not exactly the same one. It looks like some of the artists that I did back then were people you really did like quite a bit. So I might go back and do a few of those. And Gary Numan is one of the people who certainly deserves some more attention. So here we go. Tubeway Army, a London-based new wave electronic band, and the reason they are here is because, as you know, I am a big fan. Are My Friends Electric? That was the first electronic #1 hit ever. Replicas was the first and only album of Tubeway Army, as after its release, Numan put out music under his own name, but the Tubeway Army was retained. When Gary was 18, by the way, his name was Gary Webb. He first played in a London band called Mean Streets in '76. There was a single, Vortex 7, backed by Bunch of Stiffs. From the next band, the Lasers, Gary met bassist Paul Gardner, and they left the Lasers to form Tubeway Army. With Gary's Uncle Jess Lydiard on drums, Webb took a stage name, Valerian, and Gardner was Scarlet, and Uncle Jess was Rail. Now, was this after Lamb Lies Down on Broadway? Yes, I believe it was. Did Jesse's uncle get the name from Peter Gabriel? I don't know. Tubeway Army began playing in London's punk scene. They also signed with Beggar's Banquet. There were 2 singles in 1978. These were, as you probably know, That's Too Bad, backed by Oh, Didn't I Say, and Bombers, backed by Blue Eyes. There were no chart action whatsoever. The Tubeway Army album went out the same year on blue vinyl. I don't think that's the name of a record label. I think it was actually on blue vinyl. I'm pretty sure Gary really likes this color. Seems to appear several times throughout his career. Webb took the name Gary Numan. It came from a Yellow Pages ad for a plumber named Arthur Numan. So yes, England had the Yellow Pages. That proves it. The band was still guitar driven, but they tentatively used a Moog synthesizer, which Numan had stumbled upon at the studio. Hey, what's this now? Imagine walking into a studio and you're gonna do some guitar-driven songs, but over in the corner is this machine. You have no idea what it was, and you're like gonna ask, "Hey, and Mr. Engineer, what the heck is that over there? What's that machine doing in the corner?" He said, "Oh, well, Gary, that's a Moog synthesizer." And Gary's like, wow, what's a mood synthesizer? Well, he found out, and the rest is history. No, the video is not over. The album's themes were sci-fi and dystopian, as Numan was a fan of sci-fi writers J.G. Ballard and Philip K. Dick. The album sold well, even though many were warped by the manufacturer. Like the actual album came out warped. There were no singles, so no charts. Live shows were abandoned due to the violence at pubs. Yeah, imagine Tubeway Army saw a bunch of fights breaking out at their shows. Then, in 1979, Numan and his band entered the studio to record demos for John Peel's show and to work on their album Replicas. There was more synth. Guess he figured out how to use that. Probably took a lot of effort at that point in time. The first single was so slow and keyboard driven. It's called Down in the Park. It was Newman's first composition on keyboards. The use of semitone, like A to B flat, was unusual in Western music, but a mainstay in punk. You know, like that's what that was. The lyrics tell of androids who rape and kill humans in a park as entertainment for spectators. Newman's vocals were played down. The synth notes were the thrust. Kind of like that. It was melancholy and atmospheric, and it was a pioneering ambience. Affected a lot of people who were watching. Unbeknownst to Gary, he was quite popular. The B-side was Do You Need the Service? From a William S. Burroughs line from Pest Control on the song I Never Married a Human. A Dream Machine was featured, and Gary is the only one who should ever get away with the use of drum machines in general. He gets a pass, but no one else. The next single, Our Friends Electric, was a #1 hit. It was a reference to Philip K. Dick's novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? The appearance on the Old Grey Whistle test boosted the single, and Tubeway Army were soon on top of the pops in May '79. That's a TV show, BBC back then. The band was dressed in black and were nearly motionless. It was less an intentional trademark at first, as much as a way to deal with stage fright. Numan says the success of this approach led Numan to his solo career, which would know great success and also serious low points. Gary Numan was born March 8th, 1958. And after Tubeway Army, he put out The pleasure principle. Kind of a quick jump from his being born right into the pleasure principle, but, well, there you have it. If you want to know more, check out my early show about Gary Numan. We'll go into some more detail about his early years then. The pleasure principle, with the help of his Tubeway friends, his two best known songs are Our Friends Electric and Cars. The pleasure principle peaked at #1 in the UK, and it's called synth pop and new wave, but it is totally different than other new wave bands at that time. Unique is the operative word. Futuristic, so much so that it will always be seen that way, no matter how far into the future one goes. Cars went to #9 in the US. Is Gary a one-hit wonder? Don't be silly. Billboard. So what? The US. So what? Just a matter of money. Here's the discography. 1, Tubeway Army in 78. These may be guitar songs, but the future is in place. Check it out. 2, Replicas in 79. For the title track is one of my favorites. Me, I Disconnect from You. Sparse keyboards, trebly vocals. I'll never get tired of this. It would be space rock if it was about space. But it's about pulling out of a relationship. Yeah. Our Friends Electric is mesmerizing. Then, now, and forever. And Praying to the Aliens. It's about as an original song as I can imagine. And I can imagine some pretty original stuff. Yeah. 3, The Pleasure Principle in 79. Films works. It's not as interesting as Praying to the Aliens. Certainly less sure. ME is not as sheer as I'd like it to be. Observer is what's going on the tube here. Are you going to put an ad on? What do we got? No, okay. That's all right. Still talking about pleasure principle, I guess. Oh yeah, Cars. Cars is the best track. Cars was the big hit in the United States. Cars broke everything wide open for Gary. And Cars is a great song, and I like to think of him slipping a CD into the slot while he was driving. It's my image of Cars. Remember those days when you just get in behind a wheel and you don't have a care in the world, and it's a beautiful day. You just go out and ride around, whether you're in town or out in the country or up in the mountains, and you're listening to your stereo just about as loud as you can stand it to be. Yeah. I know we didn't get much done, but we sure enjoyed doing it. 4, Telecon in 80. This record shows growth towards epic making, and the title track unfortunately seems like a step back from that. Remind Me to Smile is bouncy. Sleep by Windows. You know, I try to do that. I like to have a window open so I can breathe the night air. Explains a lot, doesn't it? The track is a step back. We Are Glass is the best track. The Joy Circuit has a cello, a piano version of Park is very nice. And then next comes his Dance album in '81. Slow Can to China has a fretless bass and robot drums. Unhappy Motorcon. 5. I, Assassin in '82. And this is jazz. Robot plus organic drums. I think it's pretty good, but I miss Cars. But it's better than Dance. There's no Android stuff. Title track's got a video. It's arty, but vague. 6. Warriors in '82. This is still jazzy. Looks like Gary wants to be a jazz artist. He figures that his assault on the rock world is not going his way. It may be jazzy, but it's a little more metallic. I know the '80s is the decade of electronic drums, but I've never been into the too precise zippity zap, too precise time, and they have improved in making the robot drums more human, but I can always tell the difference. And I'm prejudiced for real drums, always. 7. Berserker in '84. The Blue and White. A little Spider-Man 3 emo-ish. Gary seems confident. He struts, but he's not a dancer yet, is he? 8. The Fury in '85. Oh, now this is Pee Wee Herman, Bowtie Period for Gary. It charted to number 24 in the UK. Overproduction eye rolling. I would lose the sax and the female backing vocals. 9. Strange Charm in '86. The overture is his most atmospheric yet. But then, it's not like you can't wait for the '80s to end, is it? Don't apologize. Just get scary. 10. Metal Rhythm in '88. Called New Anger in the US. I'm thinking disco. America. We're not lost. Sadly, I think Gary is. 11. Automatic in '89. This is by Sharp and Numan. This is just not Gary. Nope. 12. Outland in '91. Charted to number 39 in the UK. This is a little better. The sci-fi is back. Now find a real drummer. If you can't find one, I'll do it. Yeah. 13. Machine and Soul. After this one, Gary thought to pack it in, so glad you kept at it though. You're almost there. Alright, I know this video is getting kind of long, and I have a feeling they might try to stick an ad in, so we don't want that, do we? Hey, Gary. 14, The Radical Pair. In 94. This was a fan club only release. Gary decided to get tough and go industrial. Very astute. Welcome home, Gary. 5, Sacrifice in 94, called Dawn in the US. This is brooding, and that is what we've missed. No sax, no ladies, no musicians, just you. That's what we want. Thanks much. And thanks also for the Depeche Mode sound. I love this album. Wow. Sacrifice in 94. Yeah. Happy Motorcon. 16, Human in 95. And this is a soundtrack for the film The Unborn. 17, Exile. Dominion Day is almost a quarter tone here and there. This is 1997, by the way. Prophecy. Unlikely chords. Highly dependent on rhythms. Dead Heaven. It's like Middle Eastern techno-funk. For Dark. Don't let the dark into me. Innocence Bleeding. The Angel Wars. Absolution. And then in 18, Pure. Whoa. 2000. The title track intro is quite cool. Gary is angry at some woman. Fan-made video, track 2, Walking in Shadows. Gary just gets better and better now. My Jesus, you remember, you're atheist, right? Listen to my voice. Black Angels. Powerful tunage. 19, Jagged in 06. Yeah. Blows me away. Ever since the Radical Pair, Numan has made consistent progress, combining industrial sounds with a personal I can't say it. I can't do it. Forget it. Don't listen to me. He had a viewpoint that seemed apocalyptic. I think I'm losing it over Gary. You know I'm a big fan, right? I think that's pretty much what this show is about. His music is always done tastefully, providing his own chorus and a shroud of mystery, dry as a desert, nearly inhospitable to any average emotion. So, the 90s have been good to Gary and East Coast Pete. Then his Pleasure Principle hit its 30th anniversary, so he put out a remake of that. It's really good too. Love the early stuff. 21, Dead Sun Rising. In 2011, sounds like a futuristic laboratory. Then it goes all full industrial, big noise, transmission. Numan never uses autocorrect. Of course not. Title track is kind of poppy, not the love we dream of. Gary and piano mostly. The Fall gets a video. We are the lost. Yes, we are. We certainly most definitely are the lost. What an artist. 2, Splinter. Splinter. What can I say? I went to the store and bought this in CD form, and I put it in my CD player in the car, and I was like, where had this guy been? Because I didn't know about the last 5 albums being so frickin' incredible, because I kind of lost track during the 80s, which probably happened to most of you too, if you were even alive then. But then Splinter came out, and I was just so freaking blown away. It was like philosophy. Songs from a broken mind. It's like you feel sorry for Gary, because he's saying his mind is broken, but he's actually living a very rudimentary life with his wife and children. But he's such a good actor that he's able to put on this image that makes you feel these emotions. From where that came from, I don't know. It's not space rock. It's not psychedelic. It's not electronic. It's pure Gary Numan. I Am Dust. Full industrial, and he still hits the high notes. Here in the black whispers, everything comes down to this. Yes, it really does seem that way too when you're listening to this. The calling, it's beautiful cellos and violas and synth in the background, and the title track is all Mid-Eastern. This is the best track. Lost, gentle, love, hurt, bleed. Is that a garbage cover? No, it is not. A shadow falls on me, and 4 more exquisite songs. This is a perfect album, Gary. Top to bottom, inside out. And the next album is called Savage, Songs from a Broken World. So Splinter was about turning his emotion to himself, and Savage is about him turning that same emotion onto you and me, because we're in this broken world. And now for his apex, Ghost Nation is right out of a Ghost White Arabia, but with Fremen, blue in blue eyes, suited for a lengthy exposure. Bed of Thorns is orchestrated. My Name is Ruin. And he's put out 28 live albums. The latest live album is Savage, live at Brixton Academy. I should probably put that up for you to see, but sadly, I am at the end of my Gary Numan extended version show. I don't really understand what he's got on his neck. Does anybody know what that is? It has something to do with a mask you wear in the desert. It seems a little bulky for that. And he's also got this hat that he could probably pull down if the sand gets too strong. So I'm not really sure what that is. It looks like it might be a weight belt. Carry around your waist with weights to make being in the desert even more difficult. Something like that. I don't know. Do you? See you soon.